It has been 73 years since America's first citizen saint was celebrated by the world. Now a new foundation with a mission to serve New York's poorest and bridge the gap in healthcare is getting a $1 billion boost in her name. Currents News' Tamara Lane has the story.
So this is a relic of Mother Cabrini.
She was named Patroness of Immigrants, and though she was seen by many as frail, Frances Xavier Cabrini dedicated her life to serving the less fortunate. Her mission, just as relevant today as it was when she first arrived on our shores, to serve marginalized immigrants.
So like most Italian immigrants in the latter half of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, she left there and landed here in New York back in 1889.
John Heyer is the parish archivist at Sacred Heart's St. Stephen. He has studied Mother Cabrini's impact on Brooklyn. We walked the streets where she started several of her first missions.
This is Mother Cabrini Park right here, right where the church formerly stood of the Sacred Heart, and next door to the convent where sisters set up her nuns. So when she arrived here in Brooklyn, she arrived really in the parish boundaries of the Italian parish of the 6th Ward, which was Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary.
Serving immigrants who were mistreated, a main calling for the saint. Writing in a letter about the bishop, I could not refrain from telling him about all the things you are doing for our Italians at the St. Charles School, so uncharitably treated by the Protestants and by other sects.
She felt a call and she was drawn to places where she heard immigrants were not being treated well.
Sister Bernadette Anello is General Counselor for the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, an order Mother Cabrini established that today has a mission on almost every continent.
From the global perspective, we're seeing this all over. Here in this country, when I hear them being called, they're drug traffickers, they're robbers, they're going to infest our country. This is the language that's used. And yet when we see the pictures, they are young families with little children who are fleeing crime. They will risk their lives and they'll leave behind everything to get to safe borders.
And though immigration demographics have shifted, this missionary heart is enshrined in Brooklyn, the diocese of immigrants. Sister Bernadette, who is from Brooklyn, remembers the deep impact this humanitarian outreach had on her growing up.
I mean, I remember this as a little girl. The sisters stopped. It took forever to get home because they had to walk about 8 blocks from the school to the convent. They stopped along the way. They spoke to grandma. They spoke to a shop owner. They saw the children playing. They stopped to talk with them.
Walking with John Heyer, we see a reminder of Mother Cabrini's work on nearly every corner.
So this is a plaque, and it outlines exactly the fact that Mother Cabrini lived and worked here in the parish and established the school.
Her legacy is far-reaching, starting 67 missions. But even though she may be remembered for health care, she was hesitant to open hospitals.
She felt health care was beyond her scope. She was by profession a teacher. She could work with orphan children. But a hospital?
Originally declining an offer to start a hospital, she eventually accepted the calling after being urged by the Virgin Mary in a dream to take up the cause. Now, the Mother Cabrini Health Foundation is answering the same call. Announced by Cardinal Timothy Dolan in 2018, it aims to bridge the gap in the New York healthcare system by granting $150 million annually to organizations dedicated to serving disadvantaged and underserved populations. Mother Cabrini had a big impact on Brooklyn and New York. Can you explain that to me?
Oh, absolutely. And Cardinal Dolan immediately said, because of his own love for Mother Cabrini, made the decision to name it after her.
The Mother Cabrini Health Foundation, which is separate from the Cabrini Mission Foundation that has a global reach, is now the largest Catholic foundation in the U.S., with $3.2 billion in assets.
Mother Cabrini, like all the saints, they're universal. They belong to everybody.
And 130 years after her arrival in New York City, Mother Cabrini's mission lives on. Grants for the new foundation are currently under review, and they say they are focusing on funding organizations that service vulnerable communities, including immigrants and migrant workers. Emily?
Tamara, what an interesting report. Now, when you were speaking with people about Mother Cabrini's work, what stuck out to you the most?
You know, it really hit me that it's been 130 years since Mother Cabrini arrived on our shores, and we're facing the same issues with immigration and how we treat our migrants and the most vulnerable in our communities. When I was speaking with John Heyer, he had a letter from the newspaper from the 1800s, and the way it spoke about the Italians is kind of similar to what you see now in our newspaper about immigrants crossing our border down in Texas and down in Arizona. And you think, what would Mother Cabrini do? Well, she would be the first to arrive there. She would be the first to set up services, and she certainly would be caring for them.